Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny, and we're very happy to be back. We're sorry that we weren't able to record for last week. We had some last-minute company, but we are back, and hopefully we can have our consistent schedule back. I know it seems like every time we say that, something happens, but, life.
Yeah.
We do keep you guys updated on Facebook, though, so be sure to follow us there. I'll be posting a link in the description so you guys can join us on there for news and announcements. But I would say we get right into it.
Yeah. So I just want to say welcome all of our regular viewers and any new viewers. And like Brian said, it gets a lot harder in the summer because we do a lot. Company visits a lot. So it's a little bit more challenging. In the winter, it doesn't matter because people don't move too much in this state in the winter.
And again, we'll keep you guys updated on our Facebook. And do you update on Twitter or X, or not really?
Usually, it's just our Facebook.
Yeah. So if I'll be, like I said, I'll post a link in the description. Mm-hmm. Be sure to follow us there so we can update you guys when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and also I don't post stuff like that on Twitter, but we are not Twitter.
X,
yeah. But we do have a what is that thing we did earlier? TikTok. Yeah, there it is.
We don't post updates on there.
No, I don't do anything there. But I mentioned it because if any of you would like to go on TikTok and join us there, we put shorter versions of our podcasts on there because I know some people don't want to watch a whole hour or hour and a half of our videos. But please go on TikTok and see what we got on there too. So
yeah, and we're going backwards on our TikTok.
Yeah.
We're going from the top of the episodes where we just did episode 18. Mm-hmm. So next week it'll be 17. Once we get to number 1, then we're going to be either uploading exclusive episodes or just continuing from where we left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still thinking about how we want to format it, but we're at least catching people up on what we've talked about so far. Be sure on both YouTube and on TikTok to like videos, subscribe. It helps us out a lot because for those of you that don't know, the algorithms on there are based off of liking, commenting, subscribing. So the more you do that, it pushes our videos out to other people.
Right.
So even if there was something you didn't agree with us on, it's all about the communication with us and our fan base, even you. If there's something you don't agree with, be sure to leave us a comment on something, and maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode. Or, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And we're planning on trying to do more of our lives on TikTok as well. Mm-hmm. So be sure to follow us on TikTok too, because we need a certain amount of subscribers to do that. I don't mean to sound like this is begging, but because we have so much that we want to do with the show, we need your guys' help.
Yeah. And
we appreciate any support and feedback you guys give us, even if it's critiquing on how we do the episodes in general. Yeah. Anything at all. Like, obviously, we have a format. We're kind of all over the place with our format. We talk about encouragement. We talk about discouraging things. We talk about real life things. We talk about a lot. Mm-hmm. And we want to expand our horizons here. Mm-hmm. And to do that, we need your guys' support.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry to take over that.
Yep, it's fine. It's fine. So I'm going to start by reading our disclaimer that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real-life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Yes.
So in our last episode, which wasn't last week, but the week before, it was alive, and we talked about living in that place of rest. And we've been talking a lot about the soul, rest, being creative beings, getting a little deep.
We had our debate.
We had a little bit of a debate there because there are some things that you and I do not agree eye to eye on, but it's close.
I think we agree more than we disagree.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just the small things that, still need a little bit of deeper discussion.
Yes. We'll get there. Okay.
Man, that look was threatening.
So if you all want to go back and watch episode 7, it was live, like I said, and it's called Living in That Place of Rest. And it did go along with the video before that, like I said, with being creative and finding rest with your soul.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch that live, it's actually split up into
yes.
2 videos because for some reason our camera bugged out, and we were already a decently far way into the video, so we couldn't just stop. So we did continue the live, so it is in 2 parts. So apologies for that. We have no idea what happened. I literally just, when I turned the camera off or I stopped recording, I literally just unplugged it and plugged it back in, but it wasn't loose, you know? It's not like the cable was hanging out by a thread. It was like, it was fine. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, so it is in 2 parts, so be sure to go watch that. We did finish the episode.
Yeah,
but,
we did.
Yeah.
We did. So, Brian, I asked you in that last episode, what do you think of when I say living in that place of rest?
I think it kind of is equivalent to you finally made it.
Really?
To a place where you can like unwind. Like maybe not at the end of a situation,
okay.
but more like you've reached a point,
a place
where you can find that rest within the storm.
Okay.
You know, like you've come to terms.
Ooh, okay. Do you ever think there's an ending to, how can I say it, any particular storm? Like I think with what you're saying, there are steps. Like there are places that you come to maybe a point where you're like, okay, this has to be okay. But do you think there's ever a place where you're like, I've settled this?
I can say there is, yeah.
Really?
Because I recently, last week, I was going through something personal, and you know, in the heat of the moment, it felt like this is a situation I'm never going to get through, but you know, emotionally. But you know, I'm human. I still have those moments, and I talked to a couple of friends of mine about it, and you know, they helped, but I can't sit here and say that I got over it after their conversations.
Right.
But the more I stuck to my guns, you know, when I put myself in a position of like, I'm not going to let this defeat me any more than it already has. I'm just going to keep moving forward and do what I want to do what makes me happy. I finally got to that point where I just stopped caring. Like it, not in a mean way, but in like I'm finally resting, you know? Like I pushed through. I had to fight because the feelings were hard. You know, the situation was tough. But I finally did get to a point where I can sit here right now and tell you that I am fine.
Is that what it normally takes? Through those situations, it's just finally say, enough, I'm done.
Well, I would say generally yes. I know everybody's situations are different, so obviously not everyone is going to have a carbon copy example of mine, and of course I'm not going to go into detail on what happened. All I'm going to say, it was just an issue with a friend group and I. But when I finally got to a point where I said, I am hurting because of it, but I'm not going to let it, I guess, depress me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to let the feelings that are there just kind of sit there while I do what I want to do and have fun, hang out with some other people, you know, basically just do what I wanted to do to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
And then eventually those feelings, the pain, it stayed, but it almost got smaller every day. It's not like it just flew away.
Right.
You know, it's just the feeling got smaller. It shrank.
Right.
That's what it felt like. It's like every day it hurt a little less.
So it takes effort.
It takes effort, discipline, and time.
Yeah.
And it's like we talked about in the TikTok that we just had, where you persevere.
Yeah.
You know, you keep moving forward. You endure it.
Yeah.
You don't fight it. You endure it. And that's the difference that a lot of people try to do. They try to fight.
Yeah.
You know, they try to fight back against it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, in my personal experience, fighting against pain and struggle oftentimes will leave you in a much worse situation.
Oh, yes. I think so too.
And I know this is probably not going to be much of a shock to our subscribers, but there's a story in the Bible that talks about that. Remember, I forget his name, but he struggled with an angel.
Oh, yes.
You remember that story?
Yeah, what was his name? Was that?
You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about,
I
right?
do. Yep.
But that story is a good representation of it, because it's like the more he fought against it, the more hurt he became.
Yep. But
Like
he
the
wrestled.
angel overpowered him.
Yeah.
But he kept fighting against
fighting.
it until eventually he had to surrender.
Yep.
And that's kind of the same situation with how we deal with our emotions and our struggles, is like if we just surrender it, if we just say it's here, I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna do what I want to make me happy, but I'm not fighting against my demons anymore.
Do you think that's healthy?
Not fighting? Yes. Absolutely it is. Because when you fight against it and you realize you're not winning, it leads to more pain, more heartache, and eventually anger. Because then you start thinking, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? And, and I've been there, we've all thought, why did this have to happen to me? I'm sure every one of our viewers knows or has gone through a situation like this, or knows of somebody where they're like, why me?
Yeah.
Newsflash, it's not just you.
Right. Well, and we've talked about that in another episode, right? Why do good things happen to bad people, and what was the other thing? Good things happen to bad people.
Why do bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people?
Right.
It falls on the just and the unjust. It
life,
goes both
right?
ways. Life isn't fair, and no one ever said it would be.
Isn't that true?
And even in our belief, even in our belief, nowhere does it say in the Bible that life is going to be easy.
No.
No one nowhere has ever said that.
Right.
So this false idea of, well, life can be easy. Well, yeah, it can. And 9 times out of 10, it probably is.
Right.
But if anything, having hardship in your life will help bring you to a position where you realize that, not every day is sunshine and rainbows, but I will get through the storm.
You will, because you have to. But you have to find a way to do it too.
Yeah, you have options. You have options to get through it. You have people that do love and care about you. You have yourself. You know what you want internally. And that was kind of like with my struggle, is that when I was going through, my hardship last week, I did spend the first few days kind of fighting back against it. And I noticed it was making me angry. And I just said, you know what? No, stop. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go do things that I know will make me happy, that I know will help me persevere through this. And then look where it got me. I'm fine.
Right.
Yeah,
because getting angry, I know, been there, done that, right? Like a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, that is a long, slippery slope.
Well, it leads to other things.
Right.
Anger is the wind that drives the boat of emotions.
Yeah.
When you get to that point where anger kind of drives you,
you make stupid
make
decisions.
very stupid decisions.
Right.
You need to stop letting emotion carry you. You need to start letting your feelings control themselves by determining what you need in that moment.
Exactly.
Not what you want, what you need.
Right.
Because if I went with my emotions and my wants, I probably would have ended up hurting somebody. Not physically, but
Right.
one of my friends who was trying to cheer me up. At first, I started getting very angry with her. And I'm like, nope, what am I doing?
Right.
She's just trying to help,
Wow, that's good that you could keep a check on yourself, because sometimes that's hard. That's hard to keep a check on yourself, because sometimes you just want to ride that ride out. And, because the old adage is hurt people. And, not to say that you purposely maybe do that, but it does happen.
Yeah. It happens even when you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Like when I was probably at my worst, which thankfully was only for a couple of days, but when I was at my worst, I literally did not want to talk to anybody. And anybody that did, they instantly made me angry.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I finally said, why am I allowing my emotions to control me? I know what I want. I know what I feel. I know what I need. That's what I need to focus on.
Right. But again, keeping a check on your emotions.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah. In today's world, we do struggle. We do not struggle. In today's world, we do drive more by emotion.
We do. And you see it.
You see it.
And what is it leading to?
Where do you want me to start?
Don't. That's what I want you to do is don't. Yeah. Anger, my friend. So in that particular episode, Living in That Place of Rest, we talked about the hows and whys of living in the place of rest. And one thing that we always say, Brian, is that you are the most important person in your life. And I've heard it said, what would our lives be like if we worked on ourselves harder or as hard as we worked at our jobs? I don't know if that's always possible.
We often neglect ourselves more than we think we do.
Oh.
And I'm not even just talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally. We neglect ourselves severely. And I think that's kind of what has put us here, is that we've allowed the feel-good mentality to take over. And when things go wrong, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to get past it. That's why you see so many people from my generation and younger who get thrown out into the real world and they have no idea what to do.
But that's not reality.
No, it's not.
It's not always going to be good times and happy places and
that's where discipline comes in. You need, like in my case, you need to know how to discipline yourself. It's like, no one else is going to show me how to do this, so I need to do it myself. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing that happens when, I have my struggles and trials and such, is that I have to be the one to pick myself up.
Yeah.
Because all people are going to do around me is encourage me to stand up, but they can't force me to stand up.
That's true. Something will bring you to that decision. It always does.
Yep.
And
laying down and just giving up is not going to do you any favors.
No, it's not a good choice.
No.
So some of the hows that we talked about in that episode was picking and choosing our battles. And we had talked about with that is that some, like you'll fight some, you'll win some, you'll lose some. Mm-hmm. But picking them is what's important because some of them are not worth your time or your energy.
No.
We talked about don't waste your time trying to explain yourself to people who don't understand you. And we talked a little bit about that in our TikTok tonight, Brian, because I had said to you that after Mom had passed away and I was having a really hard time with it, that I had to just walk away from some people, right? Because I just couldn't keep explaining myself to people who just didn't understand. I can't give an explanation for everything. They'd ask me why this or whatever, and I can't.
Yeah. Well, in that situation, and I can say this because I've been in similar situations, is that it's not up to you to tell them how you feel. And it's not up to you to help them understand.
So you're saying you don't always owe an explanation?
You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe anyone anything. Because in that moment, your pain was your own priority. And you need to prioritize those around you who lift you up, not put you down. Again, people can encourage you to stand, but you're the only one that can stand up. Right. And in this situation, those people that were discouraging you, they had no right.
Right.
And you don't owe them an explanation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us don't realize that. A lot of us think that, if I'm going through a hard time, it's my responsibility to communicate with others as to why I'm going through a hard time. Well, newsflash.
You don't.
If you don't want to tell people how you feel, or if you just need that time to yourself, that's your right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's up to other people to read you and say, they don't need to hear what I have to say right now. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm right.
I like that.
It's not time.
Right.
And that's where the discipline comes in on both sides.
Yes. Exactly. And that's the other how that falls into place here that we talked about was aligning yourself with the right people. And that's what I had to do. And it wasn't about, Brian, picking and choosing people that I liked what they said or because I knew that they were going to do what I wanted or be what I needed them to be at that moment. Because sometimes hard truths are good, right? But I knew that I was at a place of, like you said, what I needed. And I needed to align myself with those types of people.
Yeah. Well, even if you don't, like for me, like it took me a couple of days to put myself in a position to talk to other people. But when I put myself in a spot of like me being angry towards those who hurt me or towards those who are trying to help me but not saying the right things, it wasn't right of me
Right.
to put myself above them. It was
Right.
more of like, give me my space. Let me recoup.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There it is. It's about them being patient. And that's what I needed. And that's what I was not getting.
Yeah, exactly. People need to learn how to be patient. And it goes for both sides, you know, you and them. Patience is very, very useful.
Yes.
And that's where discipline comes in. Discipline plays into patience. You know, because you're not only disciplining yourself to get yourself in a right mental state, but you're giving yourself the patience to do that.
Right. Yep. And then the last one was take time for yourself. Okay, kind of speaks for itself, right?
Yeah.
So then we talked about some whys. And those were it enhances mental clarity and reduces stress levels. It helps with our emotional well-being and encourages better physical health. And that was where I was going. I don't know if this happened to you with your situation recently, Brian, but because of all of the emotions that I was dealing, you know, with the death of both of my parents, was that I was so angry and I blamed myself and I had so much guilt and, you know, all those feelings that come with it. I understand. It was starting to affect me physically.
Yep.
And that's where I knew for myself that something needed to change.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this is the other part was we learn to trust. And I think that's really hard in any situation, whether it's a breakup or death, because you know, you talked about in our TikTok about breakups. And you often say to yourself after a breakup is, I'm never going to trust anybody again.
That's very short. That's short-sightedness. Short-sightedness. It of course breakups hurt.
Right.
No one will ever sit here and deny that, not even me. But it'll be okay. You know, just endure it.
Yeah.
Because the more you go through, I always encourage I don't want to say I encourage breakups, but I encourage hardship in relationships. You know why? Because it's very easy for things to be going good when it is going good.
Right.
But it's like, for example, I had two friends. It was a long distance relationship, and it was going great. It was going great between them, right? And he told me that he wanted to go move in with her, and they had only been dating for like 3 months.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you not to do that, but I think anybody with common sense would know that you need to give it a little bit more than 3 months, right? And he's like, oh no, but every day has been so good. And I'm like, listen, man, I love you to death, but wait till you have your first fight.
Yeah. Your true colors will come out.
Because if you guys can get through your first fight, it helps give you an idea of what you will deal with long term. Sadly, he would not listen to me. So this happened about a year ago. But long story short, he ended up moving down and moving to her. They were together for about 3 weeks and they got into a big fight.
Okay.
He couldn't go back home because his parents didn't agree with what he was doing either.
Oh, wow.
And they are probably a little harsh for doing this, but they kicked him out.
Oh, wow.
So he had to get a job down there and go find an apartment.
Another place. Oh, God.
He tried reaching out to me and apologizing, and of course I forgave him, but I'm like, Tried telling you, man.
Yeah.
But you want to know what made him do that? Why he moved so quick, or why they did? Because she was for it too. It was their very first relationship.
Oh.
They had never been in a relationship before, neither of them.
Yeah.
And this is why I encourage people, give yourself at least a year.
Yep. My dad always said that. Give yourself a year.
Have your first fight, maybe even two, and then go from there.
Right.
Because it's not a matter of, oh, we had a fight and it wasn't compatible, therefore I don't want anything to do with them. Fights can sometimes have a decently long-term falling out, but it's how you recover from it.
Right. Because it doesn't mean you won't always fight. I mean, me and your dad have been together for 35 years. You don't think we have arguments?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
And that's what I'm saying is like, there's nothing wrong with having a fight.
Right.
But what are you
going to do with it?
Use that as your springboard.
Right.
It's not always about the fight itself, it's the aftermath.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And when we talk about learning to trust, you talk about breakups. So like you got your two friends here, Brian, that, have broken up. Well, if they ever find somebody else again, they have to learn to trust that other person. And a lot of people in new relationships will say, well, I'm never going to allow those things to happen. Well, it doesn't mean that some of those things will happen like they did before, but it doesn't matter. You got to get through it because fights are going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter who you're with.
And I don't fault my friend for it because the thing is it was their first relationship. So there was a lot of new things there. But he was telling me that he's going to have a hard time trusting anybody again. I'm like, listen, man, don't look at it as my world is breaking. Look at it as a learning experience. Now you know what to look for the next time.
That's what I'm trying to say when I just said what I said. Yeah. You're learning to trust all over again, and to think that you're never going to get hurt or those emotions aren't going to come up with another person.
Yeah, because every red flag that pops up is a red flag you can look for next time.
Yeah.
And it's even in other hardships too, not just breakups, but family fallouts or friend fallouts or anything like that. You learn what to look for.
Yeah. It's called life. Yeah.
And which is why I don't discourage hardship. Like even my recent issue, I never looked at that and said, woe is me. Yeah, I got angry, right? But I looked at that and I said, I saw the signs and I ignored them. Never again.
There you go. Yeah. And the last one we talked about was that it provides a place for personal reflection and growth.
It's almost like I just said that.
It's almost like you just said that, Brian. Okay. And then I had left you guys with a quote at the end of that episode a couple weeks ago, and it said, the deeper you go, the simpler it becomes. You are here to learn, to love, to create, to heal, and to remember who you are beneath everything that tried to convince you otherwise. When you live from that place, life stops feeling random and starts feeling meaningful. The purpose of life is to become fully alive while you are here by becoming awake, aware, and real. And that quote was by Zachary Fisher. So, but tonight's episode, Brian, we're going to kind of like move into the next part of the healing in that place of rest. And tonight's, I take that back, living in that place of rest. And tonight's episode is called Healing in That Place of Rest. So we talked about living in that place of rest, which was that last episode. This one is called Healing in That Place of Rest. So what do you think of when I say that?
It's kind of funny how much this goes into my situation. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, even though I've gotten over the initial pain of it, now I'm dealing with the healing side of it.
Well, we always
it's almost like recovering from the pain of a wound and then letting the wound recover.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when you get hurt, right? When you have a physical injury, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? But when you treat it, it's not healed in that moment, but you treat it, you clean it, you wrap it, you make it comfortable, and you let it recover. You let it rest. That's how I feel.
Oh, wow.
It's like the wound is still there, but it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah. or not as much, huh?
Yeah,
Well, we often say we live our podcasts.
we do.
And I didn't even know about this situation with you.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And, we often talk too, Brian, like you're talking about the wound and the healing and all that. But then you also have the scar that remains.
Yeah.
So we talk about the soul, and I'm going to read the definition of that again, that the soul is the emotional part of human nature, the seat of feelings or sentiments, a thought, opinion, or idea based on a feeling about a situation or a way of thinking about something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to add anything to that before we keep
No.
going. Okay. In a world that is unpredictable, emotional well-being often falls by the wayside. We're taught to keep going, to suppress pain, and to move on without truly addressing what we feel.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Sometimes it's almost like you try to lie to yourself. Like, what I'm going through isn't that big of a deal, even though it really is.
Wow.
It's like you're trying to convince yourself that the wound that you have is not as severe for the sake of either the other person or the sake of the situation itself. Like, if I had given in, it would have been me caring more about how it would have affected everybody else while neglecting my own injury,
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I say injury, I wasn't hurt physically. But it's like letting yourself realize that what you're going through is bad enough to where you need to isolate yourself and focus on your own healing and recovery.
And I think that's what it really comes to, Brian, is finally realizing that, okay, you know what I mean? It's like admitting that, not dismissing the fact that you're ignoring it.
Yeah.
It's coming to the fact of knowing that it's there, and where do I go from here?
Well, it's like it's kind of funny. It's a funny example, but it makes sense because there's a movie that Dad and I watched or have watched. It was the third Riddick movie. Really good movie, but there's a scene where they're trying to track where he is, right? And if you haven't seen Riddick, it's basically a bounty hunter movie. But they hurt Riddick's dog, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And one of the lines said is like, a wounded animal will always go to ground where it knows. And that's kind of the same thing that we need to have this mentality of, like, when I'm hurt, whether it's physically or emotionally or mentally, I need to go to ground that I know.
Being grounded, right?
Not literally, but
Okay.
like go to that place where you're comfortable.
Okay.
An injured animal always goes to ground it knows.
Wow.
And it's kind of the same thing with us. We need to go to that place where we can be comfortable.
What can
I don't want to use the word safe space, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, okay.
like your happy place.
What-
Whether it's a hobby or your room or a drive in your car, basically go to ground
I get it. That's why Dad and I love to hike.
Yeah.
That's why I love to hike.
That's an example.
Because I get out in the woods and we climb mountains for like 3 to 5 hours, and it's just, I forget about everything. We just put our music on and we just hike, and when you get to the top of that mountain, it's like everything just fades.
Mm-hmm.
You forget all the cares, and yeah.
Well, and that's another good example.
Mm-hmm.
Go to ground
Right. So avoiding or suppressing emotional wounds like unprocessed grief, anxiety, resentment, and trauma can quickly sabotage our lives from within. Emotions, when unprocessed or ignored, don't just vanish, excuse me, they linger and oftentimes morph. They show up in physical symptoms, self-sabotaging behaviors, and broken relationships and mental health struggles.
Mm.
And that's basically what I was talking about earlier with the trust factor. You take broken relationships and you get very defensive if you have another relationship, because in the back of your mind you're always on guard. You know what I mean? But you have to, you can't, I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. It can be, But you can't just look at another partner that you're now with, because now you're not with that other partner, and say, well, it's going to be the way it was. Because maybe it's not going to be.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I'll say it this way. You have to give that other person the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You can still protect yourself. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. You can still have your guard up, but allow yourself to feel again.
Oh, that's hard. Because for me, like when I lost both my parents, I couldn't feel anything. And it got to the point, Brian, where it was so bad that it actually scared me.
See, for me, I used to think that way too, but for me, it's like, if I don't allow myself to feel again, then I will never be me again.
Really?
Yeah.
You lose yourself in that?
Yes. I think cutting yourself off emotionally, allowing yourself to feel nothing, it turns you into a part of yourself that you never wanted to be in the first place.
Can you ever recover from that?
From pain?
From like, if you lose yourself through that, could you?
Oh, absolutely. It's literally all about choice.
Okay.
You make the choice. It's like with everything in life, and nothing will ever convince me of this, because again, I've lived through most terrible things. It all comes down to choice. You choose to feel nothing. You choose to feel heartless, but you can choose to feel again. And there's nothing wrong with that, because again, like I said earlier, you can use the bad situations to help you overcome the next time it happens.
Right.
You look for the flags that came up, you know?
And I think when you do turn that around, I think you become a better person. Like you said, it's okay to keep your guard up, but I think you find a new you in that.
Yeah. Well, it's like putting up defenses around a wall. But that wall doesn't have to, you never have to hang on. You never have to be at a point where you will never look over that wall.
Yeah. I like that.
Because a lot of times we build walls around ourselves and we don't want to look over them. We don't want to see what's on the other side. That's a choice. You can make the choice to look over it. That doesn't mean the wall crumbles when you look over it.
Sometimes you just don't want to feel all the pain again, though, Brian.
I guess it really kind of just depends on how much you're willing to let the situation happen again. Like, I know every situation is different. You know, it's obviously not all black and white, but like in my situation, I knew I made my choices. And I was mad at myself for the choices that I made. But in the current situation that I'm in right now, or I should say in the current mindset that I'm in right now, I will not let that happen again. And that's where I peer over the wall. I am allowing myself to feel while keeping my defenses up.
You think you got better? Are you a better person for it? I'll say it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Because my defenses got stronger.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the person on the other side doesn't have any defenses. He's on the ground wide out in the open field. You know?
Yeah,
I'm the one looking down at him.
Right.
You know? So you got to know how to balance defense.
There it is.
And letting yourself become, I don't want to use the word vulnerable, but putting yourself in a position where you do stick your head out.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be prepared. Yeah. So some emotions and stressors that might cause us to need emotional healing may include, and I wrote a few down, grief or loss of a loved one, separation or divorce, loss of a job, abuse, either emotional, physical, verbal, or etc., chronic diseases, anxiety, and depression. Do you want to add anything or keep going?
Nope, keep going.
Emotional healing is not just about feeling better in the moment. And I know you talked about people, you don't live in the moment, you look long term. It's about reclaiming your energy, restoring your clarity, and reconnecting with who you really are. It's the foundation of self-awareness, meaningful relationships, and a life that feels fulfilling instead of just functional.
Yep.
So, why emotional healing matters. So what it does is, and I wrote down a few, it breaks destructive cycles. Emotional wounds often lead to repeating unhealthy patterns in relationship and life choices. Again, trust. And if you want to add anything to these, Brian, just go ahead. Reduces stress and physical illness. Chronic emotional distress can lead to high blood pressure, weakened immunity, insomnia, and other health issues. So stepping back and taking time for yourself is important. Build emotional resilience. Healing increases your capacity to face future challenges with strength and adaptability, mental clarity. Yep. Again, talking about earlier, Brian, we were talking about instead of running with your emotions, I think it's more about, I don't think engaging is the word I want to use, but it's about taking in your feelings instead of emotions. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Experiencing deeper joy and peace. When we're no longer held hostage by our past pain, we free ourselves to live more fully and authentically, take in responsibility, stop complaining, and stop making excuses.
Which is something that I could have did. I could have made 100,000 excuses for my situation, but I refused to do that because, again, as I've said in many other episodes, I refuse to ever be the victim in anything.
Right.
Even if I am justified, I will never be the victim because everything that I did was my choice.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I hate complaining.
Yeah.
I hate complaining. Not just myself, but I hate that from other people because complaining does absolutely nothing.
Okay. Yep.
Nothing. Like, stop whining.
Yeah.
Get it together and let's move on.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that I say about people that put themselves in situations. Like a lot of times, like in my case, I'd been there before. I knew what to look for. I let it go. I could have complained, and I did vent to a friend, but I didn't complain to them.
Okay.
I never complained to them. I vented, but I didn't complain because everything that I did up to that point was my choice.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. That's about what I was just saying, making excuses. That's another thing I can't stand. Okay, we all made bad choices in life, right? Mm-hmm. We all look back at them and say, I could have done this, I could have whatever. But making excuses and complaining,
it doesn't do anything for you or the situation.
Or the situation, exactly.
If anything, it makes it worse because now you've kind of, you're fighting it.
Well, you're not taking responsibility. Like you said, you're fighting it. You're not making it better. You're making it worse.
Yeah. Because what is complaining about it going to do? You know, it's like when people ask me, you know, at my job, like, you know, how you doing today, Brian? I'm like, oh, I could be doing better, but complaining ain't going to do anything.
Right.
It's true. Complaining isn't going to do anything.
It does nothing. Just stop.
Yeah, so you might as well just go with the punches and then learn from them.
Yeah, and take responsibility for your actions, for yourself, and like you said, it's all a choice, right? So now we're going to talk about what is emotional healing. One of the hardest paths to walk in life is the path of healing and a road to recovery. When dealing with emotional healing, it involves acknowledging, accepting, embracing, and allowing the process of uncomfortable emotions and life experiences to recover. This emotional recovery can include empathy, self-monitoring, compassion, self-acceptance, and mindfulness. We often want to control our emotional healing by reducing pain and regulating our emotions. Can you add to that?
Read that last sentence again.
I knew that's what you were going to do. We often want to control our emotional healing by reducing pain and regulating our emotions.
I think that last sentence kind of resonates with me because I see a lot of my friends doing something like that, but they oftentimes will put themselves in a situation that leads to their pain. It's almost like they like it in a weird kind of way.
What?
And I think that kind of goes into like how people are in everyday life, is that they will oftentimes put themselves in a situation they never wanted to be in to begin with, or a situation they were wanting to avoid. You know, like the friend that doesn't want you to stop being their friend, so they end up being really clingy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's too much.
And then it ends up doing the very thing that they didn't want to happen.
Okay.
And I see that kind of thing happening even with relationships, with real life situations, is that for some reason people will put themselves in a situation that they never wanted to be in the first place, or something they were trying to avoid. For example, relationships. We're going to get into that. So like you hear about people saying, well, you know, I've been in abusive relationships, right? Whether it's physical, mental, or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But then they get into another relationship and then something bad happens, but they don't want to leave it. But they don't want to leave it for some reason. And I have to ask, why are you in a situation that you didn't want to be in again, or you don't want to be in at all?
It's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
And I've never understood it myself.
I'm trying to think.
Because I've been in abusive relationships, and I've left when I seen the red flags coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you could say, well, sometimes people get in too deep and they can't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will agree. Some relationships are hard to get out of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's why you need to do the very things that you don't want to do to get out of them.
Right.
You know, sometimes you have to make hard decisions. That's just life. But you see that happen. You know, even with job-related situations, you know, we're often like, oh, I really like this job. I don't want to leave, but I'm calling out a lot.
Mm.
You know, it's like, well, maybe don't call out as much.
Right.
You know, like,
interesting.
Why do people put themselves in situations? And maybe our viewers have examples
Yeah, I
they
was
can
gonna
think
say,
of.
maybe you guys can tell us
You know?
something, because I'm trying to think.
Yeah. And it's like, instead of thinking, what can I do to get myself out of the situation, you should think, what can I do next time to keep myself from getting in that situation again?
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. I'm going to have to think on that one. So now we're going to talk about 7 signs, and there were more, I just picked these, that you are emotionally healing. Mm-hmm. So this is good. Number 1, allowing yourself to feel your emotions. When you allow
Didn't I say that? Allowing yourself to feel again?
You did. Yep. When you allow yourself to acknowledge and embrace your emotions rather than burying them deep inside you, you start accepting the positive as well as the negative emotions, because you begin to realize that both kinds are important to make you whole. Again, good things happen to bad people, bad things, right?
Yeah. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people.
It just happens.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. But when you realize that and you can accept it, I guess that's part of maybe a step forward, right? Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, you have better emotional clarity. You begin to accept yourself as a priority and having the emotional clarity to do the things and make decisions instead of always being afraid of rejection, feeling ashamed, or not letting yourself be the priority. Mm-hmm. So these are signs that you are on the right path to healing. 3, you respond rather than react. Before healing, you treat everything as a threat. You take everything personal, and you would react without thinking things through. Now you think logically, and then you respond. Mm-hmm. Number 4, you understand the healing process. You accept that healing is not linear. It is uncomfortable. You accept that you will be confronting the ugly emotions that cause you distress, and you understand that it's okay and it's normal. It's about finding inner peace and accepting yourself. Number 5, you're ready to leave your comfort zone. When you accept that you are ready to leave your comfort zone, you are no longer afraid of the things that felt scary, and you start doing things you never thought that you would do.
Look over that wall.
There you go. Number 6, you acknowledge disappointments. You now acknowledge disappointments and take them in stride. You see life as a balance of success and failures and accept that bad days will come, but they'll also be temporary. You'll always see how easily you accept disappointment and rejections and respond positively to them. Number 7, you allow yourself to seek support. When you've been emotionally wounded and hurt, the urge is to go away and heal yourself alone. But you now see the value of seeking help and acknowledge that you don't have to do everything on your own. You're open to seeking support and asking for help, and that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to add to any of that, Brian?
Nope. Because it all kind of just summarizes with what I've already said.
Yeah. And it's amazing because I knew none of this with you. And I don't know. We live our podcasts, friend.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this a lot in people that I've been dealing with this week. And that's why I kind of went off of this, because I'm like, yeah, I don't know who else out there is going through these things, but it's crazy.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, even though I went through it recently, I can honestly sit here and say that it's very easy to get over it. And that's really the best way I can describe it. We can call it healing, but it really is just getting over it. Mm-hmm. And it's not in the sense of like somebody walking up to you and say, get over it.
Right.
It's more of like you're letting the struggle just shrink.
You have to let it go.
You have to let it go. You have to surrender. That's a good word.
Right.
Surrender is a good word.
It is a great word. Because that's what it took for me with Mom and Dad. Because it was starting to affect me physically. And that's when I said, enough. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Because you're not fighting it. You're letting it fade. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, and I think I've used this example on other episodes, but it's kind of like, working out. Mm-hmm. Lifting weights.
Yeah.
The first one's very heavy. Mm-hmm. And then the size of the weight doesn't change, but every time you lift it, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. Before you know it, you're holding a very heavy burden with one finger.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. Mm-hmm. You still have it. Mm-hmm. It's still there.
Right.
But you've recovered.
Yeah. That's good. So there is no certain indication or finish line that announces that you're fully healed. Emotional healing is complex, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're healing because it's gradual. And you realize those thoughts and emotions can rear their ugly head again, even later in life. Yeah. Different stages and signs of emotional heal may vary from person to person, but in the end, when you continue to honor your emotional healing, you'll see how improved your overall well-being will be. So give yourself grace, time, and the ability to move forward. Sometimes the only way to get over it is to go through it.
That's good. Yeah. That's a really good, that pretty much summarizes what I mean.
Yeah.
That nailed it.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to read a quote that I found. And again, it's from Zachary Fisher. I love a lot of his quotes. And it's called, "Healing is the revolution, a sudden, radical, or complete change. There is a quiet kind of courage in turning inward, in sitting with your own pain instead of running from it, in choosing to break patterns instead of passing them on. That work doesn't trend. It doesn't shout, but it changes everything. When you heal yourself, you soften the way you speak. You respond instead of react. You love your children differently. You lead differently. You build differently. The ripple effect is real. Families shift, communities shift, the planet shifts. When we keep waiting for some grand external solution, but the most powerful transformation has always been personal. It's the brave decision to face what hurt you and refuse to let it harden you. There is nothing small about that work. It is sacred. It is practical. It is revolutionary."
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, and there was some things you said in there that made me react.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have, unless you want to add anything.
Nope, I've pretty much said what I have.
This was good. And I hope a lot of you viewers out there tonight find this very reassuring. I'm not saying that Brian and I have all the answers, because we don't. We do live our podcast, and we're both at different places where we're still dealing with certain struggles and certain things, and even past things that, I'm going to speak for myself, Brian, that I thought I was over even 3 years ago, that tried to rear their ugly head again. But it takes time. And again, you have to allow yourself that time and know that it's okay. So I'm going to read our quote unless you have anything. All right. Believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. And note, my friends, that, again, we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on any notifications. You can go to our email at giveemheck@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook at Give 'em Heck Podcast, and now we have a TikTok at Give 'em Heck Official. And please like, share, and subscribe on any one of those platforms, because like Brian said earlier in this video, it does help our algorithm and get those things out for us.
Absolutely. We thank you for taking the time to watch another episode. We are looking forward to the next one. We are having one next weekend, right?
As far as I know right now, if anything changes, I will be posting that on our Facebook. So again, please.
It's getting to the point where I don't even know if we are.
We'll put it this way. Life.
All right. So with that, I will be posting a link in the description to our Facebook and our TikTok, so you guys can go there and follow us and subscribe to those, so that we can get more views up. So hopefully we can get more content out for you guys.
Absolutely.